On the second day of the American blockade in the Strait of Hormuz, Trump warns that Iranian ships that challenge it will be eliminated. Matt Finn in Dubai has the latest news. Matt.
Good morning, Ainsley. So far, there have been no reports of serious incidents in the Persian Gulf where the American blockade is taking place. Lauren Simonetti from Fox is now reporting that a Chinese ship passed through the Strait of Hormuz today, even with the XR blockade in effect. It's an oil and chemical tanker that was prevented from passing yesterday on the first day of the blockade, but crossed successfully today. This is in line with what the president and CENTCOM are saying, which is that the entire Persian Gulf is not blocked. They are blocking access to Iranian ports. A military spokesperson threatened retaliation by writing that if the security of Iranian ports is threatened, no port in the Gulf or the Gulf of Oman will be safe. The latest report this morning from the International Energy Agency states that attacks on energy infrastructure in the Middle East, as well as restrictions in the Strait of Hormuz, have caused the largest fuel supply disruption in history. Deep cuts in Middle Eastern oil production have had a major impact on aviation fuel. But if the current situation continues like this, the latest report predicts shortages and much higher prices persisting. Ainsley.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Experts predict another rise in gasoline prices this week due to the blockade of Zelengyo in the Strait of Hormuz and the price of oil nearing $100 a barrel. J.D. Vance says he understands the impact of prices on Americans.
Well, the president admitted, Brett, that gasoline and energy prices have gone up, but they went up compared to the previous administration's levels, and now we're facing this situation from a position of strength. Brett, we know the American people are suffering. That's why we're negotiating so aggressively to try to bring down energy prices. We're going to keep working on that. I believe we've reached a point where we've achieved our goals.
Thank you.
With me now is Charles Payne from Fox Business. We need money for gas, right?
We need to profit now. Yes. Thank you for coming. About that, look, yesterday oil went up to 105 and West Texas Intermediate dropped to below 197. You'll see them drop very often. By the end of the year, it could be around $72 per barrel, and I think maybe $3 per gallon. So this should be over in 2 or 3 weeks. I think the cost spike is temporary. It was worth it because we're going to get something I call the peace dividend. This is going to be a great Pax Americana for several decades for everyone.
Do you think it will drop just because you heard the president on Maria's show? He said he isn't sure and maybe it won't drop, at least until the midterm elections. We have an audio clip and I want your reaction after we listen to it.
It should be the same or a little higher, but it should stay almost the same. I don't think this will take much longer.
So? I think he's being conservative, and again, if this gets resolved in a few weeks, that's what I'm saying. Oil prices will be around 73 at the end of the year, and gasoline will be $3.10.
How is this resolved? Now what? Do we just go in and take the enriched uranium?
It looks like they were very close in this last round. There's a lot at stake, and Iran is anxious. I know so many people out there rooting against America, unfortunately. A lot of American media, too. But we just completely crushed them. And this idea that you have a guerrilla war as your last stand, There's that old meme of a door with a guy holding the lock. That's exactly it. That's where they've gotten now. So, yeah, look, that's what we like. To solve the situation, but this blockade brings an economic loss that adds to what already happened with Iran? Yes, it's not possible.
This costs Iran $435 million per day, right? In the United States, the average price of gasoline is $4.11. Last week, it was $4.14, and last month, $3.67.
Gasoline prices, and J.D. Vance mentioned this point. He didn't want to brag because they're still high, but they've dropped a lot since the inauguration, drastically. We're going back to an area we've already been to, still far from the peaks during the Biden administration. But people like that, because we don't want to hurt the good things that are happening with the big bill and the tax cuts and all those things that were already clear. Manufacturing data, jobs, and reshoring show an unstoppable economy that we don't want to see interrupted now.
How does this impact supermarket food prices?
Yes, it does affect, especially with diesel, since it's used to transport the items. I would say the only positive point right now is natural gas, which is essential for American industry, and it's 20% cheaper since the conflict with Iran. So all these data centers and all these factories we've built to really drive the economy aren't glamorous, but they're very powerful.
Okay, and you're organizing a public meeting? Yes, Fox Business.
I can't wait. Tomorrow is about space, and the timing couldn't be more perfect, right? Obviously, Artemis. And we have the SpaceX IPO. There's the state. I love space, you know? You probably grew up just loving space, didn't you? The money that's being made now, I made people more money last year than ever before in my life, and I think I'm going to surpass that this year. With the ideas I've already shared with my own business subscribers on the program, and I'm going to talk about how we're going to make a lot of money with outer space in the next 1 to 5 years. It's going to be absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm going to have to watch it.
It's going to be fun. Some cool things, too. That's good.
So, the latest on possible talks on Thursday is that it would be a long-term commitment. Do you think, Trey, that the vice president would make that trip again unless there was something tangible or unless he had talked about it between now and then?
We don't know, but we do know that the United States understands how the Iranians are negotiating and will not make the same mistakes, we're told, as previous administrations, allowing the Iranians to prolong these talks. The Trump administration's red lines are very clear. Mainly, they will never allow Iran to develop a nuclear weapon, ensuring that they neither enrich uranium nor keep stockpiles underground after Operation Midnight Hammer. In addition, there are other issues, including Iran's support for regional proxy groups such as the Houthis and Hezbollah, along with its expanding ballistic missile program. Remember, the Iranians no longer have influence after Operation Epic Fury. The United States has severely degraded their missile and drone production, the regime's leadership has been destroyed, and their navy is largely at the bottom of the sea, which leaves the Iranians with very few options on the table. That's why the president holds the cards, not only on the battlefield, but also in any future talks that may take place between the United States and Iran.
Well, Trey, the vice president said in that interview with Brett Baier yesterday that he got the impression that the people who were negotiating needed approval from Tehran for some things.
Does that reveal the disorganization of the Iranian regime? They don't have the ability to communicate with many IRGC field officers because communication systems were targeted during Operation Epic Fury. We still haven't seen any photos or videos of the new supreme leader of Iran, Mojtaba Khamenei, which indicates that he may be seriously injured after the attacks by the United States and Israel. This shows the Iranian regime's inability to communicate internally and the need for these officers to return to the capital. Obterem respostas a essas questões. Once again, the Trump administration has drawn red lines. And if the Iranians try to return to negotiations while maintaining the nuclear program or support for regional groups, it will be very difficult to reach an agreement. President Trump offered an olive branch to the Iranians, and he is giving them a choice, especially regarding enriched uranium. Either they give up the uranium at the negotiating table or it will be taken from them.
What's incredible is their air force has collapsed and their navy has sunk. The leaders are dead and the economy has collapsed, but they're still not willing to negotiate.
Yes, and in the Iranian economy, even before Operation Epic Fury, they were already considering moving the capital from Tehran due to a lack of water supply. Remember, tens of thousands were in the streets earlier this year protesting against the severe economic crisis inside Iran. Regional intelligence authorities estimate billions of dollars lost as a result of this conflict. They are devastated both on the battlefield and in the economy. The only remaining card in the energy program is a target for the United States and Israel if the Iranians do not accept a deal. So we need to analyze the situation of the Iranian regime. They entered this war with the United States already in a desperate economic situation. How did these attacks hit the heart of the regime? Not only the officials, but also the banking system and the military elite supported by the money. This was disclosed under previous administrations such as the Obama administration. The Iranian regime is at a point where, if there is no agreement and the attacks continue not only against military targets but also against energy infrastructure, they will face such internal pressure that the regime could collapse in the future. That's what Israeli sources here in the region are saying. But at the negotiating table, the Iranians have a choice. Either they give up the nuclear program or this war will resume. Yes, it's simple. They didn't comply with the agreement and opened the strait. There was little flow, but now it's blocked. Thank you very much, Trey.